What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. I help people build an engaged community and turn their knowledge into income. Now today's going to be a pretty relaxed video compared to normal. There's no real agenda, there's no script. I'm just going to be talking sort of improvising, ad-lib, off the sort of top of my head and just sort of going with the flow. And what I want to talk about today is how I went from zero to earning 30,000 per month from my Instagram page. And it's been a long journey. Instagram, the current page I'm working on now, I started it back in March 2020, right around the peak of the first wave of the pandemic, or when we were going into lockdown in the UK. And the story I want to tell today, it doesn't start there. It actually starts a few years before that. So we're going back about 4 years. And I was at the start of university. I just joined university and I was so excited to get started to learn to be an architect. Now, since I could ever remember, I've always wanted to be an architect. Living near London, I would see the skyscrapers, I would see the Shard being built, I've seen Canary Wharf, I've seen all these amazing buildings and skyscrapers, and a part of me wanted to do that myself, to design and watch my creations come to life for real. And I went to university for that reason, to learn to be an architect, and I've always been a creative person. And going through university, it was great. I had so much fun meeting friends and being a creative person. And you'll find as I go through this story that there's certain things that I just wasn't really resonating with me, and there are certain turning points over this journey so far that have changed the outcome of where I am now. And one of those turning points is that being at university, obviously a student with pretty much no money, I had to find a way to earn some extra income. So taking the skills that I had, i.e. being able to use Photoshop, being able to use Adobe Illustrator, things I was learning at university, I took those skills and decided to then use them as a business. So I was doing some coaching work. So by coaching, I was doing children's football coaching, I was going into schools, I was doing some after school clubs, things that I had been doing a little bit before and I had a little bit of experience in. And I had a client that I was working for doing the coaching, and I went to him and proposed that I do his leaflets that they use to promote their services. And yeah, that's where my sort of graphic design side hustle kick-started. And he was my sort of main client for quite a while, and I was earning around £200 to £300 per month. It was nothing crazy at the time, being in the UK anyway, but as a student, an extra £200 to £300 per month, it goes a long way. And particularly for me, being a bit of an introvert, I wouldn't really be going out that much at university, so I didn't really have much to spend that money on. So it was just being saved away for a rainy day, as we say. And yeah, so a few years go by and I was enjoying university, but ultimately the graphic design was fun, but it just wasn't as fulfilling as I wanted it to be. And during my time at uni, I was on Instagram, browsing Instagram to get inspiration for my degree. So I'd be on Instagram looking at these architecture pages and just getting some ideas that I could implement into my own work, or into my own uni work. And while I was on there, I began to realise how much I enjoyed the platform. And this was funny considering that I personally, many years ago, really hated social media. I didn't like the idea of it. Being an introvert, I didn't like to put myself out there. If you ever come across my real personal Instagram page, there's like 5 posts in there over the span of like 5 years. I'd post like one post every year, and only because I got told to by like a friend or by someone else, I would just do it. So I wasn't that keen on Instagram or just social media in the first place. Anyway, what I found was I started to fall in love with Instagram, the creative side of it, the community side of it, the ability to sort of put yourself out there and build this massive community. It just drew me in. So what I started to do was, I've got a big interest in technology. So whether it's like, mouses, keyboards, my desk behind me and my laptop and my screen, there were pages out there that were taking photos of their setup and were building these massive communities. And I wanted to try it, but I wasn't confident enough to put myself out there. So what I'd done was I built a repost page. So I simply reposted other people's photos onto my own account. And for a while it worked. I was growing a page, fairly quickly. I maybe got around 1,000 followers in perhaps 2 months or so, and things were going well. But it just wasn't fulfilling enough. And the more I was on this page, the more I could see other people getting the real benefits of creating content, the more I realised that is what I had to do. So I took the leap eventually. This is going back about 2 or 3 years now. I bought a camera, the one I'm recording on, and I started taking photos of my own setup, my own computer and laptop at home. And I put myself out there. Bear in mind, I didn't put my name out there, I didn't put my face out there. I just had a sort of persona online, Infinity setup. You can go and check it out, it's still live now. And yeah, the page took off. People loved it because it was much more personal. I was doing captions about my life and my journey, and I was creating my own content, and I fell in love with the page. I enjoy creating, I enjoy taking photos, which I'd never done before. I enjoy connecting with people. And what I began to realise was over the last few years, and particularly with this page that I was building out then, I was learning how to grow a page on Instagram. I was learning how to build a community. I was learning how to create content that is engaging. And these are all skills that I realised I had picked up and that I could apply to a job if I wanted to. So eventually what happened was I was getting to the end of university, posting content on this page, and it was time for me to go and get a real job. And I was still doing a graphic design on the side, but it was time for me to go and get a job in architecture. So I went out there as a graduate, went to get my first job. It didn't pay very well. I was never expecting it to. And I hated it. I couldn't stand the job. This is the job I dreamt of. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an architect. I wanted to design buildings and see them built. And I went to this job and I hated it. And sometimes when you're in a job you hate it, you have to stick it out, you have to improve and get used to it, or sometimes you move on to a different job. But it wasn't the specific job I hated, it was the industry. And it wasn't for me. I knew in the first literally week of being in that job that for me to get the freedom to design what I want, to create what I want, to be creative in whatever fashion I choose, and to work with people I want, to do things on my own accord, to have that freedom within architecture, I would be waiting at a minimum around about 20 years. And I said to myself, I'm not waiting 20 years to be happy in a job. So I took the decision that I had to leave that job, but I had to have something to fall back on. And earning £300 a month from graphic design as a side hustle was not enough to fall back on. I had plans to get a house, I had plans to move out and buy a car and do other things, and £300 was not going to cut it. So I realised the opportunity. I was doing graphic design for this client that I mentioned, and I heard a rumour that they needed help with their social media. I knew in that moment that I had to take a chance. I had to put myself out there. It was scary as hell, but I had to do it. And I knew that if I could leverage the page I had built, that I could potentially get the job. And I did. And I got the job. And I couldn't believe it. The fact that I put myself out there for something that I've not got any real experience in, just my own personal experience, it was crazy to me. And to put some numbers to it, I went from earning £300 per month to now earning £2,000 per month from one client. And it blew my mind. I realised then the opportunity that I had at my fingertips. I have a skill set. I can grow a presence online. I can design content. I can design a presence that is engaging and builds community on Instagram. And I wasn't, making the most of it. This is crazy. What am I doing? So I left the architecture job. I was now getting paid more for one client of, a handful of hours per week than 40 hours at an architecture job, which I hated. And it was crazy. So I pursued it and I kept working. And then in March 2020 last year, I started this current page. And I just began building my presence. I had no real intention of monetizing the page. The aim for me with my current page on Instagram was to just become better at my craft, to become better at what I do, become a better creator, and be able to service my client better, in the hope that I would get referrals and good word of mouth. And those things started to happen. I started to get referrals, started to get good word of mouth. But then, as I grew my page, something happened. at around 2,000 followers, the page took off. And it was not that I didn't expect it, because I always knew I could grow the page, but I didn't expect it to take off in the way it did. And the more I think about it now, the more I realise that, when people say that Rome wasn't built in a day, or that success doesn't happen overnight, it's true that I had spent 3 years before that moment making mistakes on Instagram, going through failures, doing things I shouldn't be doing, buying fake followers on my old account, buying fake engagement because I was embarrassed I was only getting 1 like on a post, and all of these ridiculous things. I had gone through all of that. And most people watching this video, you won't know that, you've not seen that from me. And that's the process I went through. And so I then realised that, this page is a massive opportunity, and I doubled down on it. 90 days straight, posting every single day, engaging for hours on end. I was going through it, I had all this spare time. I knew I had to make this work. And I did, and I made it work, and I couldn't believe it. Now, when it comes to the business side of this page, that's always been an afterthought. It's never been the thing that I'm aiming to do. And that was an issue. And it's what most people forget, is that yes, when you're building your presence online, you always want to build it in the right way. You want to make sure that you're not selling yourself out. You want to make sure that you're giving value because you want to give value, and not because you're expecting anything in return. And I was doing that. But at the same time, you have to be conscious that all this time you're putting out, there has to be some return for you. It doesn't have to come directly from the page. You don't have to sell to your followers on Instagram. You can leverage it in other ways. But you need to get some return on it, because otherwise, what's the point? What's the point of spending 10 hours a day, or 5 hours a day, 3 hours a day on something, if at some point it's going to get tough? And it always gets tough for you. And if you're not enjoying it, or if you're not getting something from it, then there's no point. So I realised I have to make this more business oriented. I have to essentially level up. And then that's when April of 2021 came around, and I realised I had to invest in myself. Up until this moment, I had not invested in myself once. No courses, no mentors, no coaches. And it took me 4 years just to get to this point. My business, I was earning maybe around, it fluctuated from about a minimum of 3k per month up to around 10k per month. Now for you that might sound like a lot of money, and it is for a lot of people. But considering I had 100,000 followers, considering I had all of this authority, to be fluctuating from 3 to 10k per month, to not know where my next client was coming from, to not have the knowledge to capitalise on that authority I'd built, I was in a bad place. And April 2021, my business was at the lowest point it had ever been. And I knew I had to take action, especially because I was in my own house. I had bills to pay. I have a bloody dog. I've got all these bills. I've got food bills. I've got pet bills. I've got the mortgage to pay. I've got a car I've got to pay for. There was a lot of responsibility, and I was getting very close to the point where I was going to say, you know what, I might have to go and get a job. I might have to go and get a job to just have that security. And it's at that moment that I knew, no, I've got to stick with it, but I need to invest in myself. I need to push myself forward a bit more. Whatever it costs, I've just got to do it. Because I know that having that person, having someone to just guide me through that process will help me have the clarity and the direction I need to push on in my business. Because that's all I needed. And that's probably all you need. We all have the skill set. We all have the ability to have a big online thriving business. We've got the skill set. But it's having that clarity. It's having the direction. It's having the strategy. It's having the understanding of how to get leads, how to convert those leads into sales calls, or how to then take that sales call and turn it into a client, and how to repeat that process. And before I'd invested in myself, I didn't know how to do it. And I had to be honest with myself. I had to throw my ego away, which many people struggle to do, and say, look, I haven't got a clue how to build my business. I've not studied it. I've not read books on it. I've not invested in myself around it. So how can I expect myself to know how to do it? And if I didn't invest in myself at that time, it would have just gone one or two ways. Either the business would have crumbled, I would have had to get a job, all the business would have remained going up and down, and in another 4 years' time, I would have worked it all out on my own. But I wasn't prepared to wait that long. So, like I said, I invested in a mentor, and I got that clarity, and things started to add up, things started to make sense. And every single thing I do now, there's a reason behind it. I'm still creating content because I want to. I'm passionate about it. I create my own content, and I'll continue to do that forever because I'm passionate about it. And that's where I've come from. I've come from that place of passion. That's why I'm still here. That's why I'm still creating. But when it comes to the business side, there's now a strategy being built out. I now have systems in place to ensure that I know if I want to scale my business, how many people do I need to be talking to? How many sales calls do I need to take? How many of those sales calls do I need to convert? How many clients do I need per month to make 30,000 per month? And last month, that's what I've done. I hit 30,000 per month. And I've not got it with me, but I've got a little vision board or sort of bit of a card with all sort of dreams of what I want to achieve this year. And on there, it says I want to have a 30,000 per month business. Now, back in April, my business was at around 3 to 5k per month. I started doubting it. I didn't think it was going to happen. I invested in myself, and in a month, I hit 30k per month. It took me 4 weeks to go from 5k per month to 30. 4 weeks. I mean, if that's not a sign to me that I need to keep investing in myself, then I don't know what is. And even for you, if it's not a sign for you that you need to take that jump, that you need to put yourself out there. And whether you're just starting out and you're not showing your face on camera, or you've not created your own content, put yourself out there. Or if you're now quite established, you're growing your page, you're doing well, but you've got to that point where you're not sure what step to take next, invest in yourself. Buy a course, invest in a coach, get a mentor. Or if you've got an established business, you're earning 10, 20k per month, but you have no idea how to get started on Instagram. Invest in a mentor, invest in something that's going to help you. Because investing in myself is the best decision I ever made. Don't get me wrong, at the time that I'd done it, I was very scared and it was a lot of money that I had to pay and I wasn't sure it was going to work out. But I made it certain that I was going to do the work because the last 4 years I had been doing the work but doing it alone. And I told myself, if I can work at that same work ethic but actually have the direction and the strategy on how to do things, I know I can do it. And I did. And it took me 4 weeks to get to my goal for this entire year. And where I go now, I don't know. I really don't know. I just want to keep scaling it, keep improving it, and ultimately just keep giving back to this community as much as I can. But what I realise now is that for me to really give back to you watching this video, my content, it will do a lot for you. My free content will help you. It will help you move forward. But if you want to go to that next level, if you want to go to 10k per month, 20k per month, at some point you're going to have to invest in yourself. Because what gets you to this point, whatever point you're at now, will not get you to the next point. From point A to point B, it's most likely you're on your own. But to go from B to C, C to D, and all the way, you have to start looking at other people that can help, at resources, at automating your processes, at signing people on board, getting yourself employees or whatever it might be. You can't do this alone. And if you keep trying to do it alone, believe me, it will take you years to get to where you want to be. I wish that when I started out on Instagram, I just invested in someone there and then. Because if I had done that 2 or 3 years ago, where could I be now? Is what I ask myself. I ask myself that all the time and I kick myself for not taking that jump. So that's where I am now. I'm at around 30k per month, give or take. Sometimes it might fluctuate a little bit, but I'm helping people do the same. I've got people on board. Tyler, for example, he's been with me for just over a month now. He had no offer, and in literally just over a month, we've gotten 3 clients on board, give or take around £6,000 in deals, which is probably around about $8,000. Insane. He didn't believe he could do it, he could. Then we've got Adam, who I'm working with. He's a fitness coach, and he had an offer around $4,500, and he just wasn't getting any sales from Instagram. some very slight adjustments, and within a month, he's made his money back. He's making sales. This is what's possible, only when you know what to do. And if you're sat there in a position of not knowing how to get to where you want to be, now is the time to invest. Now is the time to get yourself a coach or a mentor. And that's what I'm here for. Okay, so look, I've been on this journey, and it's my job now to help people get through that journey, but much quicker. So look, if you're interested in finding out how I can help, if you're interested in finding out if we could be a good fit for each other, I'm going to drop a link down below in the description. Jump onto that link, book a call with me, no strings attached, just a chance for us to have a quick conversation, get to know each other a bit more, see where you're at, see where you want to be, and if I can help you close that gap, then maybe we'll go somewhere. If not, maybe I can show you to someone who can help you. Either way, it's a great way for you to get some clarity and some direction on the steps that you should be taking to grow your business on Instagram and grow the business of your dreams. So yeah, link will be down in the description below. Click on that link, book a call. But other than that, I appreciate you taking what time we're at, 20 minutes. So if you're stuck around this entire time, drop a comment as well, so I'll be interested to see if you've listened to the whole video, and I appreciate you for sticking around. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you in the next one.